Welcome back. You're still watching Good Morning Namibia. Now, Santam and the City of Windhoek worked together on flood signage to enhance public safety. Now, the City of Windhoek joined efforts with Santam Namibia by launching the fire and the flood risk awareness billboard in the capital. The billboard contains flooding warning signs to help save lives as well as reduce the risk of injury and property damage. And joining us with more on this is Senior Station Officer for the Emergency and Disaster Risk Management, Mr. Fillipus Sikongo. Very good morning, Mr. Sikongo, and thank you so much for joining us.
Good morning, Dapewa. Good morning to the viewer. Thank you for having me.
All right. Kindly just tell us more about this collaboration between Santam Namibia and the City of Windhoek. How did it come about?
Okay, this is more a continuous engagement, the continuous effort from the city in creating awareness in terms of disaster risk. As we know, disasters are the most commonalities or most common things that have now happening in the world as a result of climate change. And this year's International Disaster Risk Reduction celebration, the theme was on funding resilience rather than funding disasters. So from this angle, the city looked at having or enhancing its private partnership with different stakeholders that have the same interest of public safety or public welfare. And it's great that we're announcing that Santam as an insurance company came on board, and they are looking at not only covering your properties or life in terms of insurance covers, but they want to join hands in terms of risk reduction, which I believe is in their mission, just like ourselves as the city. We want to be a sustainable and caring city by 2027, which then translates into we want to be more prepared when it comes to disasters, so that with this mitigation, we have long-term plans on how we can go about it. So if we look at what we did now, we had symbols or signages that we put up deliberately at strategic places where we have many concerns with regards to runoff water or flash floods, where the biggest signages that we put up were 3-in-1 type of signages, which was to indicate to you that this is a general warning to the public that there can be occasional flooding, as well as just a signage for depth to say there will be water at this area, and then the depth reader that is about 1.5 meters in height, to just also indicate that once you see it's 0.3 meters and above, you should not cross.
Yeah. I want to know, what are some of the places or the areas in the city which are most vulnerable to flooding, and how will this initiative basically just help residents in those zones?
Okay, so if we look at the biggest concern or places that are a biggest headache when it comes to flooding, these are roads around the city. For example, you have your Nelson Mandela, that is the most common one, just in front of multiple choice. Yeah. And then that river runs down all the way to Katutura in Claudio Scandovado. And then you have that river branching off in Clemens Kapuo, that is just in front of the Black Chain Clinic as you go down northbound. And then you have that same river that flows in almost the same direction in Salem Street. And then you have the ones in Simbambasia, and also just the other areas that are not as high risk as the ones that we have identified. But with our internal stakeholders, we have identified the ones that clearly needs the revamp of these signages, as we might be aware that they sometimes suffer from vandalism, where people remove these signages and then putting lives in danger.
Yeah. What are some of the kind of informations or warnings that we will find on the billboard, and how can the public use it to safety?
Okay, so as you clearly introduced what signages we had at the beginning of this week, was that we had them two types of signages. One was for the floods and one was for the fires.
Yeah.
So with regards to the fires, we have two. which is a general safety tips on informal dwelling fires and just general dwelling fires, and what one can do or what are the biggest causes. And then we have one on field fires, as we might be aware that that is one of our biggest national concerns. And with regards to the flood, as I said, we have erected the one that has the general message of warning of occasional flooding on these specific areas, and then it also gives you the depth in terms of that this area may have increase in terms of the level of water. We are thinking this should help our residents in terms of noticing that there might be danger, because especially if you look at flood waters, it might seem not deep enough or not strong enough, but then you get washed away.
Yeah, we definitely do underestimate it. We've seen a few videos when it gets flooded.
Yes.
But what would you say are some of the most common mistakes, apart from underestimating, of course, the level of the flood waters, that people make during floods or fires that put their lives or perhaps their properties at risk?
Okay, I think the biggest mistakes that we make as human beings is that we tend to ignore the course of nature. And by intending to ignore the course of nature is there might be signages, and we always revert back. We have not suffered damage, so we can go ahead and do what we want.
Yeah.
And most of the people then live under in flood-prone areas, and they are ignoring the head of the call for the changes of climate change, or the effects of climate change, which is going to give us unpredictable risks and hazards. And as much as we say they are natural hazards, we as human beings are the ones that are expanding on the risk associated to these natural phenomena, such as blocking culverts, throwing refuse in riverbeds, or even just settling in riverbeds or in areas that are prone, and not following safety standards. So in terms of fire, think we had our Fire Safety Week in October, where we literally expanded on what is it that the community can do, which also in terms of the major disasters, we are looking at the Sendai framework, which actually guides us in terms of how are we going to go about it, which is increasing governance and as well as just having early warning or early detection and warning systems, so that we will be well prepared to respond and we are not caught off guard.
All right. But how can the public report flood risks, or perhaps just request for assistance during the rainy seasons?
Okay, so the City of Windhoek is composed of different departments that assist when it comes to these disasters. Internally, we run what we call ICEREC, which is an integrated community risk awareness and education sessions, and then within, in terms of the support from council, we have a public safety and disaster risk committee that is chaired by different councillors and different SEs, strategic executives. So with this, we then come up with the different levels of the disaster, which is mitigation, that looks at the bigger future, or the bigger plan on what is it that we need to do to reduce risks, such as clearing of riverbeds, which is done by our colleagues from bulk water, clearing riverbeds so that the reeds and all outgrown vegetation is cleared out. And then from that angle, it moves to us now as the division that is tasked to champion awareness, where we then do the preparation, where we create awareness in terms of what are the dangers. And with us, we can be reached on our emergency number, which is 0612 111, once a disaster has, or once an emergency has occurred, so that we can respond and mitigate it. And to expand on that, we also then look at the different elements, such as the coordinated customer care center of the city, where they will be able to direct you to who is it that you need to speak to in terms of your preparation for these disasters. And that number is 061 290 3777. and the public can report or ask questions on what is it that they need to do in terms of preparing for themselves.
Yeah. Mr. Sikongo, as we approach the rainy season, what message would you like to leave with the Windhoek residents with regards to the rainy season, of course?
Okay, so I think the first is we need to acknowledge that climate change is here, and it will take a long time before we truly grasp the real actions of what is it we need to do. Therefore, the only way we can save lives and prevent devastation in terms of our properties is to, to, to be aware in terms of awareness and prevention. Therefore, my message for the rainy season is we need to start clearing our gutters already from debris that might have accumulated during the summer season, and then also just to open up all culverts, not saying my neighbor said the water can go into my yard. Those are culverts that have been designed in a way that will be the natural flow of water. So all these culverts must be cleaned, and also just to avoid dumping refuse in riverbeds, because then you are blocking the natural flow of water, and they will be pulling up of water, and there will be a burst of water over the banks of these rivers and flood the people that are living in that vicinity. Yeah. And just also to encourage them that they should avoid constructing structures in low-lying areas, and just adhere to all road signs, and just be vigilant, because with rain we can never estimate how much rain we truly are going to get. But it's very imperative that they look at or listen to the Weather Bureau, so that they can see what is the estimated rainfall for that specific day, so that people can plan ahead on which route they will use, so that they don't get washed away or lose their properties or even lives.
All right. For those of us who would like to familiarize ourselves with the signs, where have they been installed or placed in Windhoek? Can you just give us a rundown?
Okay, so the one where we did on Monday, we had the opening ceremony or the unveiling event in Hockland Park, that is in Pelican Square, just right by the filling station close to Woermanbroek, the main river that I think there was an incident that happened last year where a double cab was washed away. That is one of the hot spots. And then if you go down, or you come down to the area of Katutura, you have your Clemens Kapua Street, that is in Katutura as well, just after Black Chain. And then as you go northbound on that same road, turn left in Salem Street. In Dolam there is another river where we will also put that signage on. And then going all the way again in Katutura, close to Sam Nujoma Stadium, there's that huge river that passes from Katutura into New Bames. There will be also signages erected there. And then we come in the CBD, as the Nelson Mandela River, that is just here close to MultiChoice. And then you go all the way in Eros as well, Erosweg, and there's others also in Simbambasia, okay. And just also some other strategic positions that I might not remember at the top of my head, but we are very thankful to Santam for coming on board, and we are asking other stakeholders. You might be in insurance, you might be in economic recovery, but as the theme said, let's fund resilience and not disasters. And I'm sure the insurance companies are listening, and they do not want to spend funding just on disasters, rather than having people that are resilient. And a life can never be sufficiently covered with money. Therefore, let's look at coming together and running this show.
Yeah. And educating the people also.
Yes.
Well, Mr. Sikongo, thank you so much for always joining us in studio, and we love the work that you're doing for the community.
Oh, thank you for having me.
All right. More conversations coming your way.